Find the domain of the function. So the domain is pretty much everything I can plug in for x. And if you remember, you can plug in anything for x unless something screws it up. As of right now, the only two things that can screw things up is dividing by 0 or having a negative inside the square root. Here we kind of have both. So let's talk about the square root. In a square root, so if I have the square root of x can only be positive. And it can be equal to, but it needs to be, x needs to be greater than or equal to 0, otherwise it's not going to work. So everything inside the square root needs to be greater than or equal to 0. So if we use that logic, we know that everything inside here, which is 2x minus 1, needs to be greater than or equal to 0. Solve by adding 1. 2x is greater than or equal to 1. Divide by 2, so x is greater than or equal to 1/2. Now, what else can't it be? Well, we also know that the bottom cannot equal 0. So if I take the square root of 2x minus 1, that cannot equal 0. So then if I square both sides, you end up getting, since the squared goes away with the square root, you end up getting 2x minus 1 cannot equal 0 squared, which is 0. And then add 1. 2x cannot be 1, so divide by 2, so x cannot be 1/2. So, putting these two ideas together, x needs to be greater than or equal to 1/2, but it says it cannot be equal to. So the domain is going to be x is greater than 1/2, but not equal to because it cannot be equal to because of this. So if you want to put this in interval notation, it will be 1/2 to infinity, parentheses on both sides. Set notation just means that you just need to set here, and that's it. One of these need to be your answer. That is the domain.